one particular thing that I think about is a phrase that was used to describe a world champion in judo in like the 80s, like 1980. His name was Katsuhiko Kashiwazaki, and his coach said about him that he made art from effort. You know what I mean? And when I read that, I read it in his book, that really made an effect on me, you know, because in the book it talked about how he was never the best. Like when he started training, he wasn't the best thrower, he wasn't the best conditioned athlete. He was good, he was tough, and he worked really hard. That's what he was the best at, working hard. So his coach was saying he worked so hard, he became like the champion that everyone kind of already was. You know what I mean? And so that's how I thought of myself. I never thought of myself as an elite athlete from birth. You know, I had to work a lot of my mental aspect. I had to work a lot of my physical, a lot of my techniques. Nothing ever just came easy for me, you know? But I was always consistent in my training. I wanted to get better. I listened to my coaches sometimes. I wasn't always the best student. But I always was immersed in jiu-jitsu. And then when I heard that quote, that making art from effort, it really, really struck a chord with me. And I said, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna work so hard at these techniques and these strategies and in my jiu-jitsu in general that it doesn't matter if I come up against somebody who's a pure athlete. They're born strong, they're born fast, they're born coordinated. And then they learn some jiu-jitsu and they're like an amazing, like jiu-jitsu superhero. I don't care, I'm gonna beat those guys too, because I'm gonna make art from effort. When I first got injured, you know, I actually made the injury worse because I talked to one of the doctors here. His name is Dr. Lubor Jarolamic. He's an orthopedic surgeon, and he's a really amazing individual. And he basically told me, he goes, look, if you don't fix this, you're gonna have permanent problems for the rest of your life. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't mean that you won't be able to use your elbow, but this kind of swelling thing, it will always come back. And so he's like, look, just, you can't go to the tournament. You can't compete for until next year. And initially, I couldn't accept that. You know what I mean? Like, I'd had injuries before, but that kind of injury was either on or it was off. You know, if I've hurt my knee a bunch of times, I've hurt my fingers, my neck, my other elbow been arm locked really bad before, blah, 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 all this thing. And usually, the training, as long as you're careful, you're not really gonna make it worse. Sometimes it'll slow the healing process down, but you're not necessarily gonna make it worse. Like, I know if my knee is hurt, I just don't use my knee. I have the rest of my body, I can do that. If my elbow is hurt, I just hide my arm and train. But this wasn't that kind of injury. He goes, you know, just this right here, that's gonna bother you. It's gonna keep it inflamed. And then if somebody hits it, it's gonna be worse, and it's never gonna go away. You have to do absolutely nothing until it is 100% completely healed, which is gonna take several months. Like you said, Bruno said, you know, you gotta pay the price. So when you stop doing all that training and then you come back, you kind of get this idea that, oh, I'm training hard enough. But then you realize, no, I'm not. You know what I mean? Then you remember, oh man, I used to do this. I used to run before I trained. So you start adding that. And then you're training and you realize, I'm training hard enough. And then you realize, oh man, I used to do training after everybody left, I would do 60 low single shots. Okay, I gotta add that in. You know what I mean? And so not only is that physically taxing on your body, but you gotta make sure not lose sight of what you were chasing before, you know, wanting to be the best. I realized that, you know what, I need to get back on track 100% or I need to step away. And then I started thinking about, what am I gonna do if I step away? What's it gonna be like? I'm gonna be like everybody else. I don't wanna do that. I don't want to be like everybody else. You know what I mean? At some point, I am going to retire from competition. I'm not going to do it anymore. I'm not going to be Megaton where I compete. I'm 50 years old and I'm competing. It's not going to be me. But I'm not done yet. You know, I'm not through yet. There's things I want to do, and I'm still motivated to train hard and to pursue goals that I haven't reached yet. You know, I don't always once I win a tournament, I don't always go back. And if I do, I don't always go to the same division or the same age group, because it motivates me to win something that I haven't won yet. That's what motivates me. I still want to do this. This is still my identity, being a jiu-jitsu competitor and a jiu-jitsu coach. And so I'm still trying to be the best that I can at that. And I'm trying to make the most of the time that I have left at a high level in the sport. You know, when I'm rolling, and it's a little different in competition, but in training, my goal is to get better. If I get better, I will win. You know, so if you approach training as a win-lose situation, like I won that training match, I lost that training match, I think you're gonna burn yourself out. I mean, imagine if you had to go to a competition every single day. You know, you could make it for a little while, but eventually you wouldn't want the pressure anymore. You wouldn't want that stress all the time. And you gotta remember that you're getting better, but so are your training partners. You know what I mean? So what happens is, if you approach training from a win-lose standpoint, you're going to start to burn out. Training is not going to be fun. It's not going to be productive. You're going to end up ducking people that start challenging you because you don't want to lose, especially if you're in a position like myself. I'm the instructor here. I can pick and choose my training partners. So I've seen it happen to students, and I've caught myself doing it every now and then. Like, you pick out maybe not the easiest matches. I'm not just training with white belts all the time. But if you come in and you don't feel like, oh man, I don't want to train really hard today, you pick out people that you kind of know you're comfortable with. Sometimes you get into a kind of a habit of only training with certain people. You know what I mean? And you can't do that. And I think what makes that habit really bad is if you think about training from a win-lose standpoint. What I try to do, and I didn't think of this myself, I heard it over and over and over from top champions, not just in jiu-jitsu, but in wrestling and you know, boxing and judo. I'm always trying to home in on tough athletes, you know what I mean, that are kind of combat-based. And so what they always ended up saying is, their goal isn't to win or lose, their goal is to learn, okay? And so what I took from that, what I think about personally, is my job isn't to think about, this is a good position, this is a bad position. My job is to focus on the process and to execute the correct technique at the correct time. Let's say I'm in side control. I need to execute by finishing from side control or mounting and then moving to the submission. If someone's in my guard, I need to execute. I need to either sweep or submit them, or be working toward that. It doesn't mean to be reckless, but to be working toward that goal. If someone passes my guard, okay, you can't think I'm losing. I'm in a bad position, because then the stress starts, then the claustrophobia can start, all these kind of things. You don't think properly. What you need to think about is, what do I need to do here? I need to focus and execute. So if somebody's on side controlling me, it's not my job to freak out. It's my job to be calm. I have to be ready, obviously. And then my job is the correct technique to execute is an escape. So I got to defend and then escape. And let's say I recover half guard. Now I'm back on track, so now I need to execute my half guard sweep, or I need to execute recovering to butterfly, or recovering to full guard, trapping the guy's arm, going for the triangle, whatever. So to answer the question, what I think about when I train that I think helps to keep me calm and also keep me motivated in the match is, I always think about the positive. What am I supposed to do? What do I need to be working for? If I have a goal to work for, I don't have time to think about, oh, I'm really tired. Oh, it's really hot. Oh, this guy shouldn't have passed my guard. Oh, the guy's gonna submit me. So when I'm training, all I try to think about is execute. I try not to get caught up in what my opponent is doing in a negative kind of way. You know what I mean? Like, I get swept. Oh, that shouldn't, oh man, I can't believe I got swept. Oh, I shouldn't have happened. This guy's a blue belt, he should never sweep me. Put all that garbage, all that rubbish to the side. All you gotta do is, I'm on bottom. Okay, now I gotta sweep, pass, finish. So what I think about when I'm training is I focus on the process of jiu-jitsu in general, and I focus on executing whatever the technique may be, whether it's defensive or offensive or recovery or whatever. That's what helps keep me calm, because I'm thinking about execution as opposed to thinking about what might happen next. So he might submit me, or what just happened in the past. Think about right now and what you need to do right now. And that gives me a lot of calmness, a lot of focus, and a lot of confidence. One thing that I constantly repeat to myself is I just say, focus, believe, execute. And that's always in my head. When I'm training, I try to think about that. I have it written on my mirror at my house. When I'm running, I think about that. When I'm lifting weights, I think about that. I say it out loud. Focus, believe, execute, you know? And that goes along with the making art from effort. You know, you gotta stay on track. You know, you can't let things distract you, even if it's your opponent putting a lot of pressure on you. I'm not Superman, you know? I'm really light, you know? I'm not as athletic as a lot of people here. There's multiple training partners here that are like really, really tough matches. You know, I'm not the guy that never gets submitted. I'm not the guy who never gets his guard passed, or who never gets swept, or never concedes points. That's not me, man. You know, training is training to me. I think about getting better. I think about executing the move properly. And if I get caught up in that winning and losing mindset, I'm gonna push myself out of the sport, because I'm gonna be stressed out. I'm gonna be overwhelmed, and it's hard. It's hard training here. But if you focus on executing the appropriate technique or strategy at the appropriate time, you put all that mental trash to the side, and you're able just to do jiu-jitsu, and it's fun. You know, it's more fulfilling, and it is more fun. I'm here for a reason, you know. Focus, believe, execute, that's it.